Good evening, y'all. I'm trying to get myself together here. Tonight, we get to talk with Liz. She and I believe it's her husband, because I've only met her through Instagram, have founded an organization just north of Sydney, Australia called the Practice Company, where she dives in and helps people. There she is. I see you, Lizzie. She helps people discover their own spiritual path. Her words are insightful and have always been transformative for me as I have scoured Instagram over these quarantine weeks, and she just rises to the top like cream. So now I'm about to invite you in. There we go. Liz, you should, there you
Hi,
are.
how are
Wow.
you?
Nice meeting you, Liz. My name's Shay.
Nice meeting you, Shay. It's so nice to be here. I'm so sorry about yesterday. I feel very, very bad.
Do not feel bad at all. Do not feel bad at all. I'm the one who sought you out on social media and really pretty much like paparazzi'd you down. Like I hunted you down and was like, I want to meet this woman.
Uh,
So I
Seriously,
appreciate this.
I did a bit of a dive into your socials yesterday. Your story is incredible, and
Oh,
I was so excited to meet you today and chat and yeah, and hang out. So thank you.
awesome. Thank you so much. So I
Pleasure.
was just telling everybody and teeing you up. I discovered you like in this quarantine time, like we all are. I discovered you on Instagram because we all have so much time at home. Hey,
Yeah,
quarantine. And
I know, right?
I'm serious. And your content just rises to the top like cream for me.
Oh,
It
thank you,
does. It
Shay.
really
Thank you so
does.
much.
So I just want to, what I'm trying to do in these conversations that I'm having with people is
Yeah.
just foster communication and connection, right? It's
Yeah.
my belief that when we share of ourselves and who we are, what we're going through, the things that we see and don't see, things that we feel, we invariably will connect with other people because there will be people on the other side of the world who will hear bits of their story in your story. And you know what it does?
Yeah,
It gives us
absolutely.
hope. It gives
Yeah,
us hope. And then it also makes us
100%.
feel not siloed and alone. So that is my
Absolutely.
intention of this conversation.
Perfect. I am down for that. Totally
Okay.
down for that. I will just preface this by saying it's 9 a.m. here and my kids have gone out for a bike ride with my husband and I think they're going to be home any minute. So I apologize for any noise or
Who
any
cares?
interruptions that may happen.
Yeah, well,
I
my
might just
husband
shut
stepped
my
out.
door.
Go
Yeah.
do that.
I'll take you with me.
Come on, take us.
So I'll
Do
just
are
shut
you
my
anywhere
door.
near the ocean?
We live a couple of blocks from the ocean, so we can't hear it from our house during the day, but on a clear night we can, which is just absolutely perfect.
I love it.
Um, but yeah, we're a couple of blocks. I think they rode through to the golf course this morning. I'm not sure, but anyway, blah blah blah. I've shut the door. Everything should be all right.
So pretty much we have a soundproof studio is what you're letting us know.
Yeah, totally soundproof.
Yeah, yeah. So Liz, can I call you, or do you go by Liz or Lizzie?
Liz is good.
Hey Liz. So tell me a little bit about the practice company. Like
Yeah.
what did it get birthed out of? Who birthed it? Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it's changed over the years too. So we started it real quick. We started it because I'm a bit long-winded, so I'll try and be real quick. But
You do not have to be long-winded. You don't have to be short. You can be long-winded is what I meant to say.
oh, you're awesome. We started it about 8 years ago, nearly 8 years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband and I, we were both pastors in quite a large church, and we weren't the lead pastors. We were just pastors on team, and we would always have lots of people come up to us and ask us advice and, spiritual advice, life advice.
Mm-hmm.
And we found a real disparity, what church setting and then how
Mm-hmm.
they outworked that faith into their lives. And we get the struggle because the struggle is real, right?
That's
So
right. We
we
do.
wanted to, yeah, totally. We wanted to create something where just during the week, real simple, people could read something every day that would connect their spirituality in with their everyday life. Bless
Mm-hmm.
you.
Sorry.
And don't be. And so that's sort of where it started. We thought if we could, give them snippets of Bible. Back
Mm-hmm.
then it was very church orientated.
Sure. It's not so
Then
much
every
now.
day, well, it's changed for us because after we started it, it's just so interesting how life works because we started it trying to help people connect to their own spirituality day to day, in their own ordinary lives. And as we began to do that for other people, uh, we discovered that our faith was unraveling for ourselves. And there was a
Ooh,
disparity between, what the things that we were saying or the things that we were upholding by the position we held in the church,
sure.
that we were finding more and more difficult to live out in our personal lives. So that's sort of how that journey
Do you
started. And
mind sharing? That's brilliant.
yeah,
By the way, that
okay.
is brilliant. I'm someone who was raised in a very Christian background.
Yeah.
You know, very deeply in the church. And so I understand what you're
Wow.
saying. And I would love to
Yeah.
hear a little bit when you said that disparity, when you started examining your own life, you're like, wait a minute, the things that I'm telling people that truly helps them is in
Yeah.
direct contravention or with what
It's
I
not working
believe.
for me.
Right. It's not working for me. So, but
Yeah.
I'm telling, so tell me, can you share like maybe one of those things that you were like,
Yeah, for
huh,
sure.
I'm pushing
Huh.
this, but this is what's
Yeah.
really working. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and well, a couple of the things. I'm just trying to pick. There's a lot of nuance to our story. So previous
Sure.
to us leaving our positions at church, I'd grown up a pastor's kid. My dad was a
Yep.
pastor
PKs.
and PK all the way. So I lived and breathed church
Right.
my whole life since I was a little girl. And a few years prior to us having this deconstructive season in our lives, we actually discovered that my dad was living a double life.
Mhm.
And he and my mum, long, complicated, short, story short, they were fired from their positions as lead pastors, and we were pastors on staff, my husband and I, with them. And I don't think people like when you're an adult and your parents divorce, it's difficult.
Mhm.
But our whole lives, our livelihood, our everything was caught up in this event, this traumatic event, personal event that happened. So my parents
Sure.
lost their jobs, they lost their marriage, they lost their friends, and then we were on staff at that church. And how churches are set up in Australia, we're all like the denomination that we were in, it was all connected.
Mhm.
Jesse and I were told that nobody would hire us as pastors because of the
Were you guys let
controversy.
go too?
We weren't let go, but it was a very difficult journey to
Mhm.
go through. So we actually felt like we went through that season quite well. And in terms of we stuck it out, we stayed strong, we
Right.
supported, we were like, we had faith that we would make it through and we hung on tooth and nail. And I had our first kid during that season as well. So I had a newborn
Wow.
during that time.
That's a
And
lot.
then
Pause real quick. That
it
is a
was a
lot.
lot.
Anybody who's been a mother without even
Yeah.
those, I think, concurrent things happening in one's life,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Our bodies are
It was a
changing, our
lot.
emotions are changing, our psychology
Yeah.
is changing. I heard somebody
Everything.
one time say that our bodies are
Yeah.
as different when we become a mother as if we had just changed sexes, as if we had just become a
Far
man.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Hmm.
It was a lot.
Hmm.
And
So I
so we
see
went
you,
through that.
sister.
And then, thank you. And then we had beautiful new pastors came and took on the church, and eh, things ramped up and changed a lot. And we were still grieving. We were still very hurt.
Yeah.
And things just weren't, how do I say it? Things just weren't tracking. Like they
Yeah.
weren't gelling. I don't know how to explain it other than there was no flow. Everything felt stuck. We didn't feel like we could get ahead,
Yeah.
um, in
And
any
that
in any way. And
and to let me just interrupt and also to really let you understand how
mm,
much we, the listener, understands that anybody who
yeah.
comes from any kind of church background, you hear that noise? That's my husband walking in the door. So
Yes.
anybody who comes in from a church background, we understand too how that environment can be very I never want to just leave people feeling negative, but can be very judgmental and can be very
Oh,
rigid.
hey, hey,
And
yes.
I
Absolutely.
honestly was shocked that you guys weren't fired, because it would have been very typical in that environment for it to fall over, even
Yeah.
though it was your father's transgressions or whatever, for it
Yeah.
to just flow over onto you and your husband. So that part was
Yes.
amazing. So I just want people to
Yeah.
understand how siloed you would be
Yeah.
in a church in that
Yeah.
environment, coming off of that
100%.
kind of, um,
Yeah.
bad thing or whatever it was.
That event yeah, and
Yep.
we were actually told that and that was sort of, and this is where the tension started to come in for us, because
Hmm.
we were basically told, you should be fired, but we're not going to fire you.
I'm not sure
And
what
then
happened here.
we with your screen, there
Yeah,
you go,
there.
there's your
I
beautiful
just
face.
had you guys looking at a wall. Keep going.
It was a nice wall. And so that's where the tension first started. We were like, okay, so we it kind of got, we felt a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Ransomed by this idea that you should be fired, but we're not going to fire you. And then,
Which is
you know,
so cold-blooded,
which is
because
so cold-blooded.
because it makes you feel beholden. Now you're
Yeah,
in a situation where you
yeah,
feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I'm
yeah,
beholden to someone because they've done something great for me that I was not deserving of.
exactly. And then,
Yeah.
as time went by, we did go really well through the whole season with my dad. And I mean, we had to move. There was lots of nuance with that. We had to move in with my mum. We
Hmm.
were supporting her financially, and my brother, who was sick at the time, like all of these different things. The
Hmm.
world was our life was very heavy, but there was nowhere for us to say that. There was nowhere for us to put up our hand and say, hey, this is hard. And
I'm
every
drowning.
time
I'm
I'm
drowning.
drowning, and every time I tried to connect, with my colleagues were beautiful, but the leaders and the colleagues around me, about this season that we were trying to undo in our hearts, it was sort of, the attitude was, and I get where they were coming from, so this, I'm not blaming them, but the
No.
attitude was, you've got Jesus, we've got a job to do, let's just get to it, and that's actually told in one meeting. Nobody wants to hear about your past. You just say yes and you get on with the job. And at the time I was like, yeah. And then as time went on, and we just got busier and busier, and I had so much grief and so many questions stuffed down into my body. And I won't speak on behalf of Jesse, but he was going through my husband Jesse, he was going through the same thing. That, very long, complicated story short, we ended up quitting.
Well, you know what struck
So
me when you were telling me those first? You should never have heard anybody tell you that, and I'm sorry that you heard
yeah.
that.
Oh, hey,
No.
it's
Yeah, and
thank
it's not
you.
even, it's just, I want to sit in that moment with you and go,
Yeah,
nah, that's not what you should have heard. And what is
yeah,
interesting to
yeah.
me, and I
It's
know
true.
what you were feeling, and probably
Mm,
you haven't said this, but I think this is what you're saying, is
yeah,
there becomes an awareness that the belief that you have is, it's not a spiritual practice.
yeah, yeah,
It's not
yeah.
a spiritual practice, because
Absolutely.
that's not a spiritual practice to tell someone nobody wants to hear your past.
Yeah, yeah,
You have Jesus,
yeah,
say yes, and get on
yeah.
with the job.
And get on with the
That
job.
no one can live in that world. And I don't,
No,
God doesn't require that of you.
no. And so we found ourselves in this position, and I've got friends that are probably watching this that are still involved in that church. So I'm trying to be careful, but
You're being
it's
very good.
not anybody's. What I've discovered since leaving church is, it's a system problem. It's a
It
theological
is.
problem. It's not a person problem.
Nope.
And everybody in that season, they were doing the best that they could with the information they had, with the belief system that they held on to. So I
That's right.
completely understand that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, for Jesse and I, and this was unfolding, we didn't have one single wake up moment where we went, oh, that's wrong. That's not for us anymore. We're going to change. It was like,
Sure.
we have to get out of this situation. And we got out of that situation. We quit our jobs. We thought we would return to church and just figure it out. We never returned. We,
You
the
had to
practice
breathe.
code,
You had to breathe,
we had
Liz.
to breathe. We had to
Yeah.
heal. We had to figure out
Yeah. Come
for our
above,
own self.
crest above the wave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And figure out our own values and our own spiritual path,
Right.
so to speak. And
Right.
it's been an incredibly beautiful season. And
Yeah.
I was being a PK, I was extremely fearful and very anxious about quitting my position as a pastor, because that's what I thought I wanted my whole life. I
It was
thought
your
I just want to
identity.
be a preacher and a pastor, and it was my family's identity, my identity, and all of that came crumbling down. So it's been this beautiful few year long journey of figuring that out and figuring out our space in the world. And it's interesting now because, like, we're still not part of a church, but we have this beautiful community online, a spiritual community that's sort of based on, it's founded in Christianity, but
Yeah, I see it.
we've deconstructed a lot. So, the way that we view the scriptures, the way that we view faith, the way that we view belief even has changed. And I feel
I
so
feel like it's
free.
gotten bigger.
Yeah, it's so funny because before we quit church, I felt like I was diving off this big ship and I was going to
Yeah.
be alone in the ocean all by myself. And I was like, people are going to judge me. People are going to think that we're heretics, which they do, and that's fine. But
Can't
then
please
I
them all.
discovered, can't please mom. When you jump off the ship and you're in the ocean all by yourself, you just start to discover all these other people who are out there too. And you join
Isn't it?
together and you
I
see that
love
there's
that.
this big, vibrant community
Yeah.
of people who are connecting with divinity there and with each other in such beautiful, organic ways that it's not about living up to a certain standard or being good enough or, doing any of these things, coming to church on a Sunday. One of the biggest things for us was that we had to push people to come to church so much that
Like you were
it just
selling
felt like a
something.
big push, like we were selling something. And
Hmm.
like we viewed,
Like
if you didn't
Amway
come to
products. You got
church,
to buy it.
like Amway, and if you didn't
Yeah.
come to church, well, what's wrong? How come you're not in church? You've got to get yourself in church. And, now for us, it's about how are you? How are you showing up
Yeah.
to your own life? How are you moving through your own pain? How are you connecting to who you really are? And how is that changing how you see other people? And church
Sure.
doesn't even, for me, that's church now. And so the building
Exactly.
of, yeah, the building
I think
doesn't,
that's really what
it's
it
not
is.
an issue.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a theologian, so I'm
Yeah,
not trying to
neither am
say that
I.
I am, but I am a spiritual being. I am a spiritual being that
Yeah,
processes life and seeks out
yeah,
truth, and even looking just at Jesus. I don't think his goal was to try to build a whole bunch of churches. That doesn't seem to be his
no,
goal. Was to help people find
yeah.
him,
Yes,
to help
and to
people find
find,
God. God.
yeah, to help people find God and to help people find more and more when you read the scriptures and when you kind of let go. This has been one of the most beautiful journeys I've discovered is my relationship with the biblical text because,
Yes.
growing up, the Bible was this, it was like a God. The Bible
Mhm.
was this shrine of holiness and
Mhm. Unchangeable,
untouchable and unchangeable. And
not
when you
malleable.
actually, exactly, but when you start to, I'm shaking with the vulnerability of our conversation, but anyway.
I well, just so you know, I appreciate it, and I know you are. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, when you start to look at what the Bible is and how it was written and who wrote it and how people who have actually studied holy texts view the Bible and bring
Sure.
it all together. And when you start diving into Jewish culture and their nuance and their literary devices and how they wrote it and what they meant when they wrote it, you can see that our modern Western view of these holy texts is highly flawed. And so then you
Right.
can start digging deeper into, well, how do we use this book? What is it
Yeah.
for? What did the writers mean when they wrote these things? And you can see more and more and more that it's not some book that's, untouchable and unchangeable and holy and amazing and every word is perfect. It's like, no, no, no. This was a book written by people across about 1,000 years who were trying desperately to connect with divinity and
Absolutely.
bring divinity into their
The
ordinary,
world.
messy, crazy, violent, messed up lives. It was
That's
very
right.
violent during those times
Yeah.
when the biblical text was written. There was, unless you can sort of, have a bit of a mind's eye of what was going on culturally when people wrote these stories, it's
Hmm.
really hard to get a proper sense of what those stories meant and the things that they were going through. And then, yeah, so then you can start to pull that book apart a little bit more and play with
Yes.
it and digest the stories and test them and see how they feel and what different
Mm.
ways you can apply those things to your lives. And so that's what I like to do now with the practice code is rather than go, here's a Bible verse, this is very much what we were in the beginning. Here's the Bible verse. This is what it means.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you can, put it into your life. Now it's more like, hey, there's this story and it could mean all these different things. So
Yeah.
what are you going to do with it? And here are some spiritual ideas. What are you going to do with it? So rather
Yeah.
than being preached at from a platform or from a blog post, we really want to help people go, what am I going to do with
Ooh.
my own life, with my own spirituality, rather than like, because I feel like a lot of modern spirituality, a lot of modern Christianity in church is getting people to outsource their own spiritual lives. So they go to church
That's
on a Sunday, they
that's what I
sing
mean.
songs. Yeah, they hear a
It's
message and they go, tick, tick, tick. I've ticked the Christian box. I've done the Christian thing. And even in their own lives, they're like, okay, so I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't steal, tick, tick, tick. And I'm like, life is so much more complex than that. And that's
yeah.
where, as all these complex things were happening in my husband and I's lives personally, we were like, okay, that flat two-dimensional reading of the Bible, it ain't working for us.
No.
And going to church isn't working for us either. It's not healing us. It's not
Right.
leading us towards a greater sense of ourselves and a greater sense of God in our lives and a greater sense of
Right.
God in our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem here? And so we now the practice we're sort
I
of
love
like
it.
trying to outwork that journey, and people look, church is a beautiful place for a lot of people, and we are big supporters of that and big champions of that. So if church works for people and they're finding hope and joy and love and healing in those places, amen, hallelujah,
That's
go
right.
for it.
But
But
if
we
they're
know,
not
but if
alone.
they're not alone, and it's okay.
That's
And it's
right.
holy and beautiful and normal. Hang on one sec. I've got a baby at the
Get it.
door. I'll be
Get
back.
that baby. Get him.
Do you want me to take him? Um, okay.
It's all right, Liz.
He's been whisked away. He's very upset. He's teething. So it's all
Do
kinds
you
of,
need to get him?
no, he's okay.
Okay, cool. No,
He'll
you
be
know what
fine.
you were saying? I love that you are so there's nothing that comes off bitter or angry, which I love because that
Oh,
really
thank God.
shows like this no, it doesn't. Absolutely, absolutely not. You come off as someone
Okay.
who is processing from a
Yeah.
deeply and the intention behind the process is to know more, to love
Yeah.
more, to be
Yeah.
more at home in your body, to be more at home in your spiritual practice.
Yes.
That's what I hear.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
I just want you to
Yeah.
know that that's a powerful thing because oftentimes,
Mm.
especially when you're someone who's come from the church, when I talk alone with my husband or my friends, I'm always like, I am a very spiritual person.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
church is not a very spiritual organization. It's
No,
not.
it's a business.
It's more like a club. It's more like,
Yeah.
here's the club. What club do you join? Well, I joined
Yeah.
Club A. I joined, and
Yeah.
again, that may work for some people, but I love that you are clearly
Which
saying,
is
you know
great.
what? But it may
Yeah.
not. And if it doesn't, it's all right. And you're not alone
It's
in that.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not wrong. Like I think,
Right.
especially here in Australia, I don't know what it's like in the States, but here in Australia, we don't talk about our issues very much.
Sure.
It's very passive aggressive over here.
Right.
And I have a lot of people connect with me, email me and say, church isn't working for us, but there's no alternative. And I'm like, well, don't go to church or start your own thing. Go to your friend's house and connect. But
Right.
the culture is such that you go to church, that's what you do. And if there's no alternative, well, you just keep going to church. It's sort of like very passive. We don't talk about our issues. We don't talk
Right.
about the challenges that we have. And it's very
I
quietly
think that a lot
judgmental
of
that
people
way.
have that propensity, not just in Australia. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people have that propensity
Yeah.
because those are things that make us feel vulnerable. And
Yeah.
even though we crave vulnerability, we're scared to death of it because we literally think we will die.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah.
we literally
Exactly.
think that we will die from exposure. So we
Yeah.
hold on to it and hoard it,
Oh,
even though our deepest desire is to be known,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to know.
Oh gosh. And that really is exactly how we felt at that crucial moment for us when we decided we need to quit our jobs as pastors, and even in the subsequent months, because it didn't all happen at once.
Sure.
And there's lots of nuance and lots of detail to that story. But like, we quit our jobs as pastors, and then we found ourselves not going back to church. And I think it was that for us, and maybe it was because we were pastors, and so to a lot of people we were something
Sure.
other than what we were. Like, to see your pastors go through something hard and be vulnerable, maybe that was it. But for us, it wasn't a place where we could be seen and known and healed in a really compassionate, loving way.
And we
And we
need
had to
that.
create that space for ourselves. Yeah, and we need that.
We need
And
it.
there's no weakness in that, there's no, like, a
No.
lot of people come to us and they say we're questioning and we're going to get judged, and I'm like, yeah, you are, but that's okay. Like, don't worry
You're not
about
going
what
to
other
die.
people are thinking. You're not going to die. Your
Mhm.
vulnerability is going to heal you. It's not going to destroy you. And
I
so
remember
that's,
being afraid of my own process when I was doing the same sort of
yeah,
searching in my faith and around it and over. And I remember being at one point getting really scared. I've never shared this before. I
yeah,
remember at one
well,
point getting really scared, like, because I could feel myself leaning towards believing all the new things I was
yeah,
experiencing and seeing as truth.
yeah,
And there was a line where it was completely different from my childhood and what I had been raised. And I
yeah.
literally remember fearing, going, oh my God, am I sealing my fate to hell? Am
Oh,
I sealing
I know
sealing my
exactly how you
fate to
feel.
hell? Because I
Yeah,
can't make myself. And this is what I heard. I'm telling you
yeah,
what I heard in my spirit. I heard very clearly. First of all, I want to say, before I tell you what I heard, God, whoever you think that God, first of all, God is not a he. God is so bigger than any sex that we can
yeah.
ascribe to God, right? We just
Bring
use
it.
these pronouns
Absolutely.
because we need
Yeah,
a pronoun, because we are human beings and we're limited. So we
yeah,
need, is it they? Is it he? Is it she? We need these things. But to
yeah.
God exists outside of time, before
Absolutely.
time, around time.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
so what I know for sure, I knew this, is that what I heard in my heart was, you are not journeying from me, you're journeying to me, through me, and with me.
yes,
And I
yes,
was like, thank you, God. Thank you. Because the
yeah,
person who I really care, the person who I really care,
yeah,
what they think of me, he already knows the truth. He
yeah,
already knows that I don't believe what you're saying. He already knows.
yeah. Or no, no,
So for
yeah,
me to try to maintain this belief to help you out so that you can, that idea of trying to believe something to please somebody else, this is another revelation that came to me. This
yeah,
person is not at home sleeping any better because they have made you believe, they've made you say you believe it. They're not like, oh boy, that
yeah,
sleep is coming back to me so
yeah.
much better because Shay's doing exactly what I want her to do. And
Exactly.
so
No,
here
no,
I am wrecked because I'm not joining up with exactly what they want. I'm trying to, because I call myself a recovering people pleaser. I'm in
oh, I'm
recovery.
with
I
you.
backslide every
Absolutely.
once in a while and I'm like,
Absolutely.
oh, what
Yeah,
am I doing again? I'm trying to
yeah,
please this person. But what I'm
yeah,
trying to say is that our lives are not more peaceful, are
yes,
not more at rest, are not more
yes,
deep and profound when I'm
yes,
trying to please you. They're not.
yes,
And even if I did what pleased you, you're
yeah.
not happier in your life.
No, it doesn't work. And like Jesse and I talk about this often. We, we walk our streets every day, like with our little baby in the pram, and we talk about this sort of stuff. And even yesterday, we were saying the way to help other people is to really help yourself, is
That's
to go,
right.
what do I need? What healing do I need? And we were talking about a certain situation, and we were saying to each other, you've got to do the work for you. Like, you've got to do the work for yourself. And that's how you end up doing it for other people. Because when
That
you are healed, that healed and that wholeness to other people. And even if you're
yes.
on the journey, when you're doing the work, because we're always going to be on the journey, we never arrive, we're always
No.
a work in progress. And when you make peace
Mm-mm.
with that, that's when you live in the flow of grace. That's what grace
Right.
is. When you go like, I'm going to fail, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to fail, I'm going to succeed. And that's how life is. And I'm going to show up to every single moment of it. And when you do that, you help other people do the same in their own
You
lives.
do, because you know
And
what?
you do it
You
together.
give them permission. You
You
give
give
them
them
permission.
permission. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like the practice code now is yeah, we follow the scriptures, we do different things. So if you are part of a church, you can use the practice code as, something to boost your,
Your
content,
beliefs.
biblical, whatever,
Hmm.
whatever. But if you're not part of a church, then we really hope the practice code is a safe place for people to land and to find their own sense of spirituality outside of, the four
The four
walls of
walls.
Christianity. So,
Hmm.
and I that's what it's been for me. It's really saved
Just
my
so you know,
own life.
that's what it is for anybody who reads your stuff. Like, that's why I
Oh,
sought
thank
you out.
you.
I saw it.
Thank
I
you,
was
Shay.
like, yes, yes, I see this. And to your point,
Thank you.
you know, the things that you say can only come when you are diving deep into
Yeah.
why am I here and who has
Yeah.
me here and what
Who has
should this
me here?
space feel like and what do I want it to feel like. The things
Yeah.
that you say can only come out of that space. They can't
Yeah.
come out of scripted living. It has to come out of
No.
vulnerable, transparent living, because the truths that you
Yeah.
have are vulnerable and
Yeah.
transparent. And what I
Yeah.
found is once you do that, everybody relates to that deep
Oh yeah.
down, right?
Oh
Everybody
yeah.
relates to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're free. Like
You are free.
that's freedom. Freedom isn't being able to do whatever you want and having no trouble and having no limitations.
Right.
Freedom is actually this understanding of grace, of
Yeah.
I'm going to get it wrong, I'm going to get it right. And the world is chaotic but beautiful at the same time. And I'm going to show up to it every day, and freeing yourself of having to fit yourself into somebody else's box and somebody else's
Right.
idea of success, and doing it for your own damn self. Like for me,
That's right.
that's freedom. And for a lot of the time growing up, especially in an evangelical setting here
Hmm.
in Australia, anything
Yep.
that you did for yourself was
Was
seen as
selfish.
selfish
Hmm.
and wrong. And you should be pouring out your life for other people. And so, like, when
Right.
you talk about being a people pleaser, being in recovery for people pleasing, oh,
Yeah.
I so relate to that,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I thought my whole life was for other people. And
Yeah.
so any desire that I had for myself
You squash
was,
it.
you squash it.
Hmm.
So
And
it's
sometimes you
been
feel
great.
shame.
And
Sometimes
you
you
feel
feel an
shame.
internal shame of your
Yeah.
own desire. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
those are the parts of me where I'm like, God, it wasn't, I was a deeply spiritual person in an environment that wasn't deeply spiritual,
Yeah.
but could
Yeah.
follow some serious rules. Now they could follow some damn rules
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, now we could also break the rules, and to show you how kind of unmoving and unbending it is, that those who
Yeah.
break the rules, now we have to hide and lie. Now we have to
Yeah.
hide and lie. And
Yeah.
that's why I said, when I recognize the person who really knows, who I really care about, that
Yeah.
entity, that thing that is greater than
Yeah.
time, past,
Oh,
present,
yeah.
space,
Yeah.
already
And
knows what
it's
I'm struggling with.
already is in it with you.
With
Like
me.
witnessing to, it's not a surprise. And it's like
Hmm.
that, and that's been another beautiful transition, is going from seeing God as this big guy in the sky,
Hmm.
and being an Australian middle class white girl, to be honest,
Yep.
God was,
Lovely.
you know, discovering that Jesus was actually Jewish
Yeah.
and
Middle
brown
Eastern.
and
Isn't
Middle
it
Eastern,
crazy?
and like discovering, and I mean, it's a no-brainer now that you know, but then
Right.
deconstructing my own privilege from
Yeah.
my idea of God and Christianity has been a painful and
I
incredible
just
thing
love
to do,
hearing, oh, I love you saying that. And, honestly,
Yeah.
as a Black woman here,
Yeah.
coming from the same belief system, it is
Yeah.
very refreshing to hear you process that, because here in the
Oh,
States, I'm always
thank God.
like, why do people keep trying to act like Jesus was this white American? He was
Ah,
not. He was
he was
not.
not.
He
He
was
was
not.
not.
Regardless of who
Yeah.
you think he was, but I know he wasn't. He wasn't American and he wasn't white. And
Amen.
that's not me trying to make him something. I'm just saying,
No.
why. I want to ask the larger question. Why do we
Yeah.
keep trying to make him something else? That's the
Why do we
question.
keep trying to make him
Yeah,
something else?
I'm
Yeah.
not trying to do black power on you. I'm not trying to
No.
usurp anybody's authority or make myself more valuable. I'm just saying, let's ponder
Yeah.
what part of this country club is making us
Mm-hmm.
want him to be something else. You know,
Yeah.
like in this country club belief, I happen to be married to a white American male who is from
Yeah.
Georgia,
Yeah.
which you may not know the dynamics of the South and the North
A
in the
little.
United States. I
Yeah.
mean, the truth is, everybody had the issue of racism. It's just the Southerners were a little bit more upfront about it, you know.
Yeah.
But
Babe.
you know, when I married my husband, what I remember him saying, this is very vulnerable too. I
Oh,
remember
babe,
him
I'm
telling
here for it.
I remember him telling me one time, you know, like that his mother said, you know, I got my prayer group and we're praying against this. We are praying against this. And I remember thinking, what does that prayer sound like? What does that prayer sound like? Like, who
I'm
are
so
you
sorry,
talking
Shay.
to? But
Yeah.
see, my point is, a country club can let you say a prayer like that. A
That's the
spiritual
thing. Yeah.
practice, a
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
spiritual
Yeah.
practice that has you alive could never let you utter a prayer like that, because the
Yeah.
moment the words came out, they would feel like a lie. They would
They
feel
would feel like
wrong.
a lie. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we've, it's so good that you say, I'm so sorry, first of all. I'm so sorry that you had that experience and that experience
It was
continues to
hurtful.
happen. I'm so, so sorry. And I wish there was more that I could say and do about
That is
that. And
beautiful.
thank you for sharing it. But I think that that's the problem of this sanitized Christianity that we have, is that it is very sectional and it is very country clubbish. And we have turned this beautiful, disruptive sense of spirituality into this safe, sanitized, dress the same, be the
Mm-hmm.
same, live up to the standard, do the
Yeah.
things, tick the boxes, fit into, like, it's very safe. And then when you start to discover who Jesus was, it was really interesting when you were talking about it before. Oh, you are so beautiful.
Thank you.
You're wonderful. Um, Jesus is a rule breaker. And that's the really interesting thing when you start studying the context of these beautiful stories and passages in the Bible, you start to see how brazen Jesus was
I
and
mean,
how political he was. Like,
right.
the dude was straight up political,
I know.
and how disruptive he was. And it wasn't,
And he was not the status quo. He wasn't the
it was
tradition,
not
but
the status
it
quo.
was a new thing.
And it wasn't about being, he wasn't bucking Judaism. Like, he wasn't being anti-Jewish.
Mm-mm.
I don't believe. He was
I don't
saying,
believe it
hey
was either.
guys, the way that humanity is, the way that you're doing it, it's not working for you. So let's break some of these rules that you have instituted,
Mm-hmm.
and let's get to the heart of the matter. And I think
Mm-hmm.
when you see that Jesus was this rebellious, political,
Yeah.
outspoken
Mm-hmm.
guy who didn't show up how he was supposed to show up,
Not at
it
all.
gives us a whole lot of freedom um, to do the same in our systems that aren't working for us, because they're clearly not, on so
Right.
many different levels, by your own, that devastating experience that you just shared with us, and then other experiences that we've all had. The system is not working for us, which is
Yeah.
fine, because systems
Right.
are never going to work. Systems come
Right.
and systems go.
And systems are to
So,
help us, right?
and
We
they're
we
to help
create
us.
them
We
because
create
we need
them.
them.
Yep.
We
Yep.
need
And then
structure. We need
we
we
do.
need comparative analysis. So systems allow us to, develop metrics and things like that. And I get it, but
All
we
of
need to
that.
see the limitations of the system. The system doesn't
100%.
provide a spiritual life. It
No,
doesn't.
and it doesn't, and you've got to be flexy with it. I think, like, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of us we make the system God,
Yeah.
and we don't realize the system works until it doesn't work anymore, and then we build a
That's right.
new system, and that's okay. Like, that's
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
As we discover more about the brain and how it works, and the body and how it works, and science and all the different technologies and medical advancements that we make, we are allowed to bend and flex. We are allowed
Absolutely.
to change how we do things and how we see things,
Yes.
because Jesus and the Bible and everything that pertains isn't about you being one thing and holding up one standard. It's about you being true to who you are, finding
Mm-hmm.
God in the very center of your being and showing up to
Yes.
all the life, like very simply, but showing up to the life that you have and the life that shows up to you every single day. So it's less
Yeah.
about the outside and more about the inside. But when you make it about the inside, it impacts the outside so
Absolutely.
powerfully.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I love you. I love this discourse. I find that
I'm
this is
loving this conversation.
thank you. Thank you for sitting in this space with me. I mean, this discourse, this is the kind of stuff that changes people's lives. It
Yeah.
really does. I always feel
Yeah.
so grateful that I get to be a part of of conversations that I know bring transformative change into people's lives. Like right
Oh,
now,
so
because of
thank
this
you.
quarantine time, and I'm having these discourses, I'm reaching out to
Yeah.
people like you all day long, and I get DMs overnight. Every morning I wake up to tons of DMs where people are
Yeah.
just like, hey, I just want you to know and it didn't feel like much of anything other than sitting in a space, holding space with
Yeah.
another human
Holding
being.
space for people. Yeah.
Yes, just holding space.
Giving people
Yeah,
permission. Yeah.
thank you. But it's
Sorry.
powerful, and that's not
It is.
lost on me. It's
Oh,
not
you're
lost on me.
amazing. How are
Oh,
you going with quarantine? What's happening in your world? Are you guys okay? What's
so I am pretty much kind of like the guinea pig of our family, like meaning
yeah.
my husband, because he had a kidney transplant
Yes.
and he has this diminished immune system. I
Yes.
really don't want him going out and interfacing. I
Yeah.
make our bread and butter through real estate sales. I work for corporate
Yeah.
builders. So I'm still kind of, they're
Great. Okay.
quarantining, but they're like, get your butt to work. And so I'm trying to figure out what
Yeah.
that needs to look like. So I like masks, gloves, spit
Yeah. Yeah.
shields with people.
Yeah.
And honestly, here's another very vulnerable, but a real part of my life. My side door to my home is right over there. And that's where our
Yeah.
car garage or port is. And when I come
Yeah.
in, that's also where our washing machine and our dryers are. So when I
Yeah.
come in from being outside, I strip at my door and I throw
Yeah.
it into our washing machine. So those are some of the practical steps,
Yeah.
but I really am not
Wow.
feeling overly confined. I feel like, okay, I'm doing what we need to do. I feel like we did have a COVID scare where he woke up and for three
Wow.
days he was having
Yeah.
um, uh, temperatures. So he was having fevers, he was having chills, he was having body aches, severe dizziness and headaches. And so his
Yeah.
kidney team was like, immediately, I need you to go get
Wow.
tested. And
Okay.
they got the results turned around to us in 24 hours, and we found out he did not
Wow.
have it. That was
Thank God.
almost 3 weeks
Yeah.
ago, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Thank God.
what he did have, there was a reason why. He has the parvovirus in his body, which, by the way,
Right.
I've learned this, about 85% of us over the age of
Have
35 or
it.
40 have it. But when you have
Yeah.
a healthy immune system, it's like saying, I have herpes. I might get a
Right.
cold
Okay.
sore once in a while, but I'm not dying
Yeah.
from it. But if your
Yeah.
immune system is
Yeah.
compromised, that could really lay you out, you
It's a
know?
big deal. A bigger
It's a
deal.
big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
that's what we are contending with. And but he's getting treatment. He's getting these infusions. This
Yeah.
called IVIG treatments
Yeah.
to help combat that. So that's what's happening in our world. And our daughter
Okay.
turned 13 during quarantine, so she got
Oh.
to hang out with her parents. Not
Oh,
super
babe.
excited about that. I know. We felt so bad for her. We're like, happy birthday. No.
Oh.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
We felt
babe.
bad about that.
Oh man.
I
It's
appreciate you asking
weird.
this,
Oh,
but
of
it's been
course.
a time of this, but
Yeah,
it's
it
allowed
has.
me to do
Yeah.
stuff like this because I wouldn't be doing it. And I have so many more questions too. I want to
Oh,
keep
sorry. I
asking you.
keep talking
No,
over the
you're
top of
doing,
you.
don't say sorry. You're doing exactly what you are supposed to. And by the way, thank you for asking me about me. I'm
Of
just
course.
waving to
Pleasure.
people who come into the room.
Oh, yes. I should be doing the same thing. Should see my setup is so technical, but anyway.
Oh, well, mine is too. Like, this is just a chair in my den. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
piece of artwork behind me
It's awesome.
on a
I felt
surfboard
like,
that I found on the side of the
yeah,
road.
perfect. It's
My husband
awesome.
was like, what are you? I was like, pull over. I want to get that surfboard. They have it by the trash. He's like, honey, I was like, you married me. You married me. You
You get
knew
that
I need,
surfboard.
you better pull over there, dude, and get that surfboard. And we did. We did. That was like 10 years ago. But
That's
I
awesome.
I love it. What is something like that you've endured that's been hard in your life, even recently, that you've had to pull from some of these
Yeah.
truths that you are finding?
Oh, okay. Um, this it. I just preface this by saying I know that for this may be triggering for some people because, um, well, I found out I was pregnant almost 2 years ago to the day, and it terrified me. And I want to stop there and say, I know, if there's people who are struggling with infertility, that
Yeah,
can be really confronting and hard to hear. And when
I
we
know.
first started to have children, wanted to have children, we've been married for 16 years and we tried for a couple of years. We had a miscarriage and so we had like a little infertility journey 12 years ago. Had two kids, they're 10 and 8 now. I was very sick a few years ago, like coming out of all that church season. It was
Mhm.
very destructive to my body. I had some very big health issues. Was getting over that and was finally starting to feel myself again. And I fell surprise pregnant. And, it's great now, but I want to say in that season, the day that I found out, I was terrified. And I thought, can my body
Feel
do
this.
this?
Hmm.
Can my workload, like what's going to happen?
Hmm.
Because when we quit our jobs
Hmm.
as pastors, um, we had no idea, we weren't trained in anything else to put a roof
Money.
over our head and put
That's right.
food on the table. So even just very practically, we started our lives again in our mid 30s, and now we're in our late 30s, early 40s. My husband and
Hey, 45.
no way.
Yeah.
The best, babe. And you look amazing.
Oh,
40s are
thank you.
awesome.
I
I
love the
feel like we're
40s.
just starting to come into
I
ourselves,
swear, girl,
and
I feel
it's
like I'm just getting
amazing.
my stride. Just getting
Yeah,
my
yeah.
stride. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And but I tell you what, it was really scary for me falling pregnant and then just trusting because like my work was with that season that I was sick. Um, we had so many plans and dreams for work, and
Hmm.
I could not go through with them. And it was frustrating for me. It was frustrating for my husband. We were spending and I know in the States, healthcare is very expensive, and we were going through because the normal channels in Australia weren't working for me. So we were spending a lot of money on alternative healings and therapies.
I get it.
And we were just finally getting to a place where we thought, awesome, life is back to normal.
Yes.
Surprise! And it's been
Kidding.
great.
Yes.
But I really had to trust. It was a real season where I had to really walk that trust road and go, you know what? I believe I will do what I say and I will trust and I will have faith that
Mhm.
this is going to lead me somewhere good. And that may sound really confronting, like I said before, and I do apologize and I do
But I don't
um,
want you to. You've
not
acknowledged.
apologize, but I'm
Yeah.
acknowledging that can be really confronting for
Yeah.
some
And
people
I
to hear.
appreciate that. But
But then
also, this is
for
your experience, and it's all
this
right
is
that you
our
felt what you
experience
felt.
now. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
it's still quite challenging because we've got the other two kids that are in school, and we've got two businesses that we run from our home with this baby who was in the other room screaming his
I
little
heard
life out.
boy, girl, when they're that small, I
A
can't
little
tell. Is
boy.
a little
He's
boy?
a little boy.
What's his
He's
name?
14 months old, Oliver. And he's
Oliver.
amazing. We called
I
Oliver
know.
means Yeah, Oliver means peace, and then we called him Oliver Wild because we just had this sense that he would be this untamed, wild sense of
Because he
peace
showed
in
up
our
when he
lives.
wanted to show up.
He showed up when he wanted to, and he has. It's been a real blessing, but not just because, yay, kids are a blessing, woo, woo.
Right.
I don't want to dress it up like that. It's been a
I
blessing
love
because
you.
it's.
We'd be friends, Liz. Just so you know,
I
we'd be
think we
friends
would
if we lived.
be. I think we
Yeah.
would be.
Or
But
we
he's
are.
shown
We
me
are.
we are, babe. We are.
Mhm.
This is it. He's shown me that I can do it. Like
Yeah.
he's shown me what it is to show up and
Mm.
trust and to live with a sense of letting go of my expectations of even when you're in the throes of newborn life and little babies, but it's a really good sort of analogy for the whole of life. how to let go of those expectations that you have every day. And when you can't fulfill what you wanted to fulfill because you've got a baby that needs you, or because something tragic has happened in your life, or because something unexpected has happened, it's really teaching me to let go and to flow, do what I can, show up where I can. And like, I struggle with it daily, I tell you, this tension of, right, I'm going to get up today. And in the mornings, you always have this idea of, I'm going to do this, this, that, and that. And life is going to look like this. And we are going to make it to this place that we've been dreaming of and hoping for. And day after day, you have to keep moving the goalposts and taking things off your list and being okay with it. And I know that might sound really small, but it's in
That's
the
where life
details,
is,
I think,
though.
where life is. Yeah. And so
Yeah, that's where life is, and all
recently,
those little
all
things.
those little things. So he's not a problem that's happened to us, but it was a paradigm shift and like, I was terrible the day I found out I was pregnant. I cried and I cried and I cried. And then
By the way, so did I, and I only have one child. I did.
I hear you, babe. Oh my gosh. And then I was insanely sick I don't do pregnancy well. And so the whole thing was just a really big lesson in showing up and letting go, which I'm still on and will be on forever. But that sense, trust is a big thing for me right now. And especially looking back at the things that, my dad was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder long before he left my mother. Trust is a big deal. And then what we endured with church, trust, I'm discovering I have issues with. And so,
as you should, by the way.
Yeah, which is very normal
honestly,
when you've been through this kind of trauma. And so having an opportunity to discover trust again in a healthy way has sort of been the path that I've been walking now. So
that is beautiful. No,
I
appreciate
that. Answers your question.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, babe.
You answered it beautifully. Gosh. Well, the next question I feel like you kind of touched on, like what was one of the hardest times in your life that you had to walk through? And I think honestly, what you've been talking about have been some of the hardest times.
Some of the hardest times.
What is something you fear? What is your greatest fear?
I've been reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Yes, everybody has. I need to read it. I haven't yet.
I started reading it in the middle of a really big work week, and I had to put it away because it was too. I wanted to just be with the book, and it was really undoing a lot of things in my life which needed to be undone. And I'm like, I have to save this for a time when I can be with it properly. But she says in it, which I really relate to, I really fear missing out on. I really fear missing out on life. Like, I fear, I don't know how to explain it. I fear missing who I'm meant to be and the things that I'm meant to do. And, I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of snakes. I'm afraid of disappointing people and all of that. But my biggest fear is wasting my time and missing out on discovering who I am and being who I am. And then, you transfer that onto who my children are, who my husband is, I fear missing out on seeing all of that and being with those moments. God, I hope that doesn't sound pretentious. I don't mean it pretentiously.
Oh my God. No, can I tell you what it sounds like to me? It sounds beautiful, but I wanted to speak to that fear and say, now I know we fear what we fear. So I'm not trying to act like I hold the power to dismantle your fear, but what I heard when you were saying it, I was like, that is so interesting how we can fear the thing that we are doing everything to the contrary.
Exactly.
Like you clearly are not wasting your time.
I know how to waste a good amount of time though.
So we all do.
Sorry,
but you know what? I heard something years ago and it freed me on that. Yeah. If you have time off and you are sitting down looking at a wall or you're wasting time, then that's what you needed. Then that is what you needed.
100%.
Because I held myself to that. I would come home. I had a sick husband. I'm like bringing home the bacon, frying it up,
baby.
And then I'd come home and I'd be like this.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I cannot believe I just wasted a whole day. And I was like, no. You didn't waste a whole day.
You did not
That
waste your
is what
time.
you needed. That's what you needed, Shay. So it's just interesting. So I can tell you what I'm hearing. I don't hear anything that's pretentious. I hear like, wow, thank you so much for sharing this fear, because it shows us all, like, look at what
Yeah.
she's fearing. Everything this
Yeah.
woman has said up to this point shows she is not wasting her time. She is about the business of discover. No. Hear this and receive it. You are about
Thank
the
you, babe.
business of, you are about the business of discovering what life is, what you are meant to do and be and hold that space. Like, you are about the business of your children, your husband. You don't have to fear it. I just want to say, like, so the freedom that I heard when you express it is, it just showed me how fear is not logical and fear is not truth.
Yeah.
Because the thing that you said, like, a person
I
who
know,
doesn't even
I
know
know.
you, who's sitting on the outside, is like, that's what she fears, that because everything about the practice everything that I read, it's about being there. It's about
But here's the
unearthing.
thing. I write about that stuff. Well, first of all,
But you can only write about that stuff if it's truth to you. You
if
can't.
it's true, and it's
That
what I'm
stuff you
in
can't
the
just
mud
get
with.
off of the surface.
No. And it's, I do recognize, like, I'm in a unique position where this is my job. It's my job to go deep. So there's a certain amount of privilege there that I try not to take for granted, that, I get the time to delve into these things and to unpack them and to do the work. I have time in my day for that, because I don't have to go to another job. This is my job to do the work, and then to write about it, and to join with other people as they do the work. But
what are
then,
some things that you use to do the work?
What are some of the things that I use to do the work? Meditation is a big part of what has changed me so profoundly, and what has helped me discover the core of my being. And it's helped me get beneath all the ickiness, like, all the noise, all the clamor, all the fear.
Oh, you went away for a minute. Oh, you're frozen. Liz, if you can hear me, you're frozen. Let me go get her. Oh, there you are. Okay. Here we go. I'm coming back to get you.
Back? Here we go.
There you are. Oh my God,
Hey,
you frozen. I was
sorry
like,
about
no,
that.
I need to hear what you were saying. So
Meditation has been really good. And then recently, I just saw that she was online, but I don't know if she is. Hi, Nicole. But I discovered this incredible woman online named Nicole Sachs, who's a psychotherapist. And with my journey with chronic, Nicole Sachs.
How do you spell last name?
Sachs.
Okay.
And in my journey with chronic pain, and a few of the physical challenges that I've had, and just not getting anywhere with modern medicine, and even with a lot of alternative medicine, I discovered her work. And it's about the mind-body connection. And often suppressed trauma and suppressed emotions show up as physical pain in our body. And one of the main things that she prescribes to her clients and her patients is to journal. And there's a lot of similar things out there, like morning pages is one.
Yes.
But basically,
morning pages came into my life at Julia Cameron when I was like in my early 20s.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
The artist way.
It's similar, where you for 20 minutes a day. It's not journaling like, oh, today I went to the movies with Johnny and it was nice. It's a brain dump. It's a stream of consciousness.
That's right. No editing allowed.
No editing. And look, I have to say, I haven't been great with my practice of that lately, but I know that I need to get back into it. And but her work has been transformational for me. So
Nicole Sachs.
But so doing the journaling.
Don't stop. Stay right there. I have to go, and I have to come back and get you. I'm seriously. Okay.
Go for
Please.
it. Go for it. I'm here. I am here.